Welcome back, welcome back. Last year, hopes were high for a reunified Cyprus. President Dimitris Christofias, a more moderate Greek Cypriot than his predecessors, was elected with the promise to start, indeed restart, peace talks with Turkish Cypriot leader Mehmet Ali Talat. Well, talks did happen throughout 2008, but they broke down. So what now for Cyprus? Earlier I spoke with the president of the de facto Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, Mehmet Ali Talat. Mr. President, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, what is the situation exactly? Because you were hopeful that you would get talks agreeing a solution to the situation in 2008, weren't you?
Actually, the problem is not so big. Actually, we made progress. So, to be honest, with the election of a more nationalist leader as the prime minister in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus would not cause any problem for the time being, because they announced, I mean the government announced, that they support my efforts. They're backing me. They also want a solution. So we made quite a good progress on various issues. Some points of disagreements still are pending, but we are going to tackle them, and we agreed.
What's the most important thing that's got to be sorted out?
The most important one is the property problem, because everybody somehow is going to be affected from the solution, from the remedies for the property problem. So the main problem is the property. The others are also important, but not as important as the property problem. And it is much public. I mean, property problem is much public. The others are political conflicts, political differences, if you like, disagreements, some for security measures, and the others. But property directly somehow affects the public.
So how would life change on the island if there was peace breaking out? Well, there's not war, but I mean peace breaking out.
First of all, Turkish Cypriots are under isolation, severe isolation. I mean, we don't have direct flights. We cannot sell our goods which we produce in Cyprus to United Kingdom. We are under isolation of all walks of life, sports, cultural activities, everything. So lifting of these isolations by a solution would cause quite a lot benefit to Turkish Cypriots. It will be a big change, an enormous change for Turkish Cypriots. So solution is a need for Turkish Cypriots. Actually, it is a need for Greek Cypriots also, but the Greek Cypriots are comfortable because they are in the European Union. They are recognized by the international community. They are not in hurry, but Turkish Cypriots are in hurry. They want a quick solution. They want an urgent solution. That is the big difference.
And when then would you say, when would you hope now, if you had to name a date, when all the disputes were settled?
You see, our target has been the beginning of 2010. And actually what we agreed with Mr. Christofias, we are going to intensify our efforts in January 2010. This intensification might cause a quick solution. That is always possible. My target is to find a solution until April 2010, because in April we have presidential election in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Until election, I want a solution. That is what I'm trying to achieve.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's been called the most important meeting since the Second World War, but nearly halfway through the Copenhagen summit, arguments are raging on how the world should tackle climate change. Meanwhile, scientists have warned this week that the world only has 10 years to stop catastrophic global warming. So with just 7 days to go, can a deal be reached? The first week has not been that encouraging, but I'm joined now by someone who knows everything about this subject, Penny Wong, Australia's Climate Change Minister. Welcome very much to the programme. let me read this sentence here. Thursday's main event was a proposal from billionaire George Soros that would give poor countries access to a $100 billion loan to tackle the effect of climate change. On the face of it, this proposal could break the impasse between rich and poor countries on financing. Do you think that's true, that that was an important step or not?
It was an important contribution and a welcome one. And finance is certainly a key part of what we have to negotiate here. But if you sit back and say, what is the outcome we need? We need a deal, we need an agreement. There are a number of key components to that. Finance is one of them, but obviously another is the environmental outcome. That is the reduction of greenhouse gases that we need to tackle climate change. And that is something that has to come from all countries across the globe, and that is what makes this such a challenging negotiation, because we're all in it.
Absolutely, and it was a setback, presumably, that the Senate rejected your bill, the bill in Australia. That was discouraging to you, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a setback for us. We wanted to come to Copenhagen with our plan to meet our targets, because ultimately developed countries and developing countries can only tackle climate change if we change our economies. And this was the legislation that gave us the plan to do that. We'll represent it. We'll continue to have that fight domestically, because it's the right thing to do. It's in Australia's national interest, just as it is in the national interest of all the nations of the world to come forward with their plans and their commitments to meet their reductions in the greenhouse gases we're putting into the atmosphere.
Can you explain one thing logically, Penny? You've said that if the rest of the world will do cuts of 5 to 15%, you'll do the same. If they go to 25%, you can do the same. If you can go to 25%, why don't you go to 25%, whatever the rest of the world says, because it's still a good idea, presumably?
Well, there's 2 points. The first is an economic point. In Australia, as in any other country, it is cheaper, more affordable to reduce emissions if other people are doing it. You don't get the same issues in terms of your trade competitiveness, in terms of your industry's competitiveness. So it is, if we all act, it is cheaper for us to act than if only some of us act. So we have said we will do more if the rest of the world does more. We've also frankly put it forward to say we're all in this together. If the world is prepared to act, Australia is there. We're prepared to go for a much more significantly deep target, which in the context of our economy and our increasing population is a very ambitious target, but we are prepared to go that far if other people are. And that is a reflection of the challenge we face and the challenge we, all of us face here. We have to get action across the globe. We have to get agreement across the globe, because climate change is not going to be fixed by 1, 2 or a few people, a few countries. It will only be fixed if we get commitments from all nations here.
And in fact, when you say we're all in this together and so on, presumably the 2 nations that have got to come through in the next few days are United States and, as you mentioned, China. I mean, without a strong move from China and America, this conference is doomed, isn't it?
Well, they are the foundation of any agreement. I mean, there are nations who have to be part of the agreement for the agreement to be effective, for the agreement to be comprehensive, and China and the United States are clearly first amongst them. So you know, we will keep doing, as Australia, we will keep encouraging China and the US to put forward their commitments. But obviously we need more than that. We need everybody, and we need to get all of the world to be prepared to act.
You're right to smile there, because it's quite a target, isn't it? Getting the whole world to act within 7 days. That's a hell of a target.
It is, it is. In your introduction, I think you said it was being billed as the most important meeting since World War II. Certainly, what we're trying to do here is to bring the world together in a way the world has not come together before. And what this process needs is people not to get into the posturing, to stop getting into blame shifting, to stop finger pointing, We need people who are prepared to be, I suppose, friends of the process, constructive, supporting the Danish government as the chair of this process, in getting an agreement on the table that delivers the best outcome, that takes us forward over the years to come and starts to set the world on the trajectory that you identified in your, that scientists are already saying. We have a small window of opportunity here. If we do not get the world to start to shift the growth in emissions in the next 6 to 10 years, then this generation of political leaders will have lost the opportunity to constrain climate change, to constrain temperature rise to levels we believe we can manage.
And in fact, do you think it's likely that in the end of this week to come that there will be a meeting of minds and hearts as well, I suppose, between the developed nations and the developing nations, or do you see that split widening?
It is tough. It's going to be tough. You know, I'm not thinking that this is going to be easy, but there is room for movement. This has always been an issue of political will. If nations have the political will, we can get an agreement. It is an extremely positive thing that so many world leaders will be flying in next week, leaders representing the majority of the world's population and the majority of the world's emissions and the majority of the world's economy. That is a good thing, because that is the sort of political leadership that's needed. With the right political will, we can get the agreement the world needs.
Penny, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a stimulating and successful week.
Yeah, it's good to speak with you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Well, that's it, I'm afraid, for this week. My thanks to all of my guests, and do join us again in 7 days' time for another Frost Over the World.